just going to demonstrate here how to put an image in a circle and also not with a square image, doing this with like just some random rectangular image that we get off the internet. So I pulled up this picture of a beer and it's a rectangle, it's not a square, and the beer is kind of down the bottom. Now when I want to put that picture onto my page that I'm making, the code I've got now is doing this. So the beer is down the bottom, I'm getting all these lights, so I really need to fix that up. So I found a web page that walks us through this. This page is actually pretty straightforward and easy to understand if you read it. So it says if you want to get a circle, if you want to make a circle, an image into a circle, you usually need a square, but what you can do is make a div that's a square. So you basically make a box that's a square, then you put a border around it so that it looks like a circle, and then we can put an image inside that div and resize that image, and then we can also position that image wherever we want. So if you imagine like a photograph, and then you get a piece of paper with a circle cut out in it, and you sit that piece of paper over the photograph, and then you slide the photograph around behind the piece of paper until whatever it is that's on the photo lines up inside the circle. That's what we're doing here. So how we do that is we have to make a div and then style the div with position relative, style the div with a width and height value, which if you want a circle, those two values are going to have to be equal, and then put the image element inside of the div and style its position as absolute, and then style the top, bottom, left and right property of the image. So what we're doing with that is we're telling it where the top, bottom, left or right side of the image should be. So if we go over to my code and look, so here in the HTML first we have the div, which is a circle image portrait. So I've just named it like that because I was trying other things. That's what the class name is. It doesn't really matter what the class name is. And then I've got an image inside that div, which is the image we were looking at before. So the div is relative position, and then the width and the height has to be equal because I want a circle, so 100 pixels both ways. I don't know if overflow hidden matters at the moment. I might just get rid of that and see if that affects it. It does. So you have to have overflow hidden, which I think what it tells it is anything that, if the image is bigger than the div, the overflow of the div, so whatever overflows outside the size of that wrapping div container, it doesn't show it. So if I add that back in, overflow hidden, oh, wrong one. See, now what we're looking at is actually like the div is out here, the square of the div. I'll see if I can inspect it. So that's the image. You see, it's showing us the image there. But if we go in here to the menu box and we go to the menu and the menu box item, and then we go to the circle image portrait. So see the that hatched square there, that's actually the div that we're styling. So when it overflows, the blue box represents the overflow of the image, but by putting overflow hidden, we're telling it just show us the part of the image that's inside this div. Alright, and then the border radius gives us the round border. So let's just deselect that. So that gives us the square div. Border radius 50 gives us the circle div, because we're making the 50% radius around the corners, around the four corners. Margin auto, let's just take that out and see what it does. Okay, so that's centering the div entirely inside of the parent container. So we'll put that back. Does that make sense that we want it to be centered in this case? Now then we go down to the image. So the image's CSS, its positioning has to be absolute. We make its width 100%. If we change this to auto and we save, we get black, which is probably because it's showing us something that's up in the top left hand corner here, because if the width is auto, it's probably making it this full 640 by 960 pixel size, whereas our div is 100 by 100. So if we change the width to 100%, it's 100% the width of the div that it's inside of, the wrapper div. So the image gets resized to 100% same width as the wrapper div, and then height is auto. So what that's going to do is, because it's a rectangle, it's going to go, okay, the width is 100 pixels, the height, to keep the ratio of the image the same, if we change the height to, let's just try 100% and see what happens. See, it gets squished because the image is taller than it is wide, which means if we make it 100%, it's 100% the height of the div, which is only 100 pixels, which means it has to squash the image. So we set height to auto, which gives us the right aspect ratio of the picture, but now it's not showing us what we want to see, because it's setting it from the top of the image, which is here. It's going, okay, the image starts here, the overflow is all down underneath here. So what we want to do is we essentially want to push that image up so that this beer is in the middle. So to do that, we use either top, bottom, left or right to tell it how to position this image, because the image positioning is absolute. So we go bottom, and let's just go with 0 pixels first, and see, now that's looking heaps better. And the other way is pretty good, and the other way is centered essentially because we've gone 100% width. We can't really push it left or right. If we push it left or right, so if we go say left, let's go 20 pixels, we get like this cut off on the left hand side. That's because the image is already at 100% on the left to right axis. So if we push that, you can imagine we've pushed the photo of the beer to the right, because we're telling it, let's push the left hand side of the photo 20 pixels. We want to push the left hand side of the photo in 20 pixels. That's what we've done, so we're seeing that sharp straight edge of the photo. So we don't want to do that because we've got 100% width. So the left and right is fine. We've got bottom 0 pixels. So we need it to go down a little bit. So if we want it to go down a little bit, we should probably go, let's see what 10 pixels does. It pushes it up. So we're telling it to push the bottom of the photo up 10 pixels. So instead of going up 10 pixels, we want to go down 10 pixels, which is negative 10. And that brings it down a little bit, which is not bad. It looks alright, but I think I'm going to go with 5 just to make it look nice in the center there. That looks good. So that's how we position an image behind a div container, and if we've got that circular border, that's how we do that.